I've recorded numerous videos using this camera, so I figured I might as well do a proper review of it. This is the Philips CAM110 pocket-sized HD camcorder. The box says anti-shake, and it does have an image stabilizer that uses gyro sensors, so it is actually an optical image stabilizer in this little thing. Records HD 1080p video as well as 720p and VGA resolution. Claims it takes 10 megapixel photos, but that's upscaled. The actual sensor is only 5 megapixels. This is a discontinued model, but you can still find it pretty easily. So inside the box you get the lanyard strap, which I already have attached to it. You get a quick start guide. This little notice telling you to change the TV system to NTSC, because I think by default it comes set to PAL, and you get a little carrying pouch. The software is preloaded on the flash memory, so you don't get a CD, and it does come with some kind of video editing software, but I never tried it because I just use iMovie on my Macintosh. As typical for these little pocket-sized camcorders, the USB connector is built in, and I think it also comes with a USB extension cable. I just have it stashed away in my drawer full of USB cables, because sometimes you don't want the whole weight of this thing hanging off your USB port. I mean, it's fine if you're using a laptop, because that's at desk level anyway, but if you're using something like a tower PC, it's going to be up in the air and it'll be hanging off the USB port. So that's the flip out USB connector. You also get a little tripod mount down there. And on the side here is the door, which reveals the HDMI connector and the micro SD card slot and a little reset button in there. You can close that door, and you also get a switch. It's actually a real switch. It's not just a button, to go between movie mode and still photo mode, which is nice. And below that is the power button. Turn it on here. And on the front we get the lens. We'll get an LED light, which stays on for video recording if you want it, or in photo mode it serves as kind of a flash. Obviously it's not as bright as a real strobe flash, but it does get extra bright for taking a photo. And on either side of the lens you can see the stereo microphones, which was one of the nicest features of this camera. The microphones actually sound pretty good. They have pretty good frequency response, and the stereo separation is actually pretty decent as well for one of these little pocket cameras. But the one downside is that there is no microphone limiter. So in loud environments such as riding in a car, the audio will get clipped and distorted. So that can be a pretty big drawback in certain situations. The controls are also very simple. There is no stupid touchscreen or anything like that. You get real buttons for everything, which I definitely like. You can actually use this while wearing gloves if you want. So we get the big recording button in the middle, and if we hit this button we go into playback mode, and we can scroll through our videos and photos, or we can go into a thumbnail mode and we can play videos, or we can hit that button to go back to recording. If you hit this button you get the menu, where you can see it says flash, but that's actually the LED light. So if I turn that on, you can see you can get the LED light, which is blinding the camera. So it's actually pretty bright. Let me turn that off. You can also set the LED light to auto, which will turn it on automatically in dark environments. Resolution, full HD is 1920 by 1080. Sports HD is 1280 by 720, 60 frames per second. The 1080p mode is only 30 frames per second. Standard, which is 640 by 480, VGA 4:3 aspect ratio. Photo size, you can go up to 10 megapixels, but like I said, that's interpolated. 8 megapixels, 5 megapixels, which is the actual resolution of the sensor, and that's it. So I just leave it on 5 megapixels. Scene, auto, skin, snow or beach, night, backlight, sunset, or auto. I just leave it on auto. I don't bother with those kind of settings on any camera I use. smile detection on or off. Dual recording. I think that lets you take photos while you're recording video, but I never used it, so I don't know exactly what that does. Autoplay, likewise, I never used it, so I don't know exactly what that does. Pre-record continuously records video in a buffer, so when you hit the record, I think it adds the previous 3 seconds onto the video in case you missed something, but obviously that eats up the battery much faster. And this thing, the battery life is pretty good, but one thing I noticed, if you leave it on for a long time, it gets pretty warm. It actually gets almost hot to the touch because they have to pack a lot of electronics in this little thing, so it can get quite warm if you're using it for a long time. Date and time, language, format SD card. It also has a small amount of built-in memory. I think it's only good for recording about a minute of video at VGA resolution, or about 30 seconds at 720p, and maybe something like 17 seconds at 1080p, so it's pretty much useless. There's also special effects here, 70s old, color filter, sepia, black and white, or normal. And you get digital zoom, which is like any other digital zoom. The quality is not the best, but at least they don't get carried away with the amount of digital zoom you can use, so in most situations you can get away with using it. It's not going to look super grainy if you do. And it's actually pretty smooth when you're zooming in and out, unlike some digital zooms which are very choppy. So let's start recording a video here, and zoom in, zoom out. This is also autofocus. It is a little bit slow, but it does focus automatically in video mode. If you give it a few seconds to react, there it is. It just focused. I don't know if you can see it on the video. And you can see it focused outwards pretty fast, but I think if you're going from far away to close up, it takes longer. So it is autofocus. There is no option for manual focus, unfortunately, in case you're in a situation where the autofocus doesn't really work that well. But in most situations it works pretty well. So that's another big feature of this compared to many other pocket cameras. Not only the stereo microphone and the LED light, but also the autofocus lens. That's pretty much it for the features and controls. It's a very simple camera to use. That's one of the reasons I really like it. And here's the photo mode. If you hold it halfway, it focuses, and then you push it in all the way and it takes the photo. So let me see. There, focused on my hand. Take a photo. Let me turn on that flash so you can see. Let me take a photo of the camcorder. If you hold it halfway, it turns on the LED, and then when you push it in all the way, it gets extra bright for that one moment when it's actually taking the photo. So there it is, focusing and taking the photo. And you can see it does do that pre-flash to reduce red eye. The one disadvantage is that it's an LED, so it has a kind of a bluish tint. So it's not really that great for taking photos, but if you're in a dark environment, it's better than nothing, obviously. So I like this camera. Like I said, the sound gets distorted in loud environments and the autofocus is slow, but otherwise it's actually very good. And I'll give you some sample footage, some scenes recorded in 1080p mode, other scenes recorded in 720p. So here you go, sample footage recorded on the Philips CAM110 pocket-sized HD camcorder. Here's a test of some close-ups. This is the printout from Amazon.com about this camera. It says it has gyro sensors in it for the anti-shake system. And it has dual recording, which lets you record 1080p, and it also simultaneously records a low-resolution 240p video. And here's their comparison chart between the different Philips camera models. This is the CAM110, and there's the CAM300. It has identical features, so I think the 110 and the 300 are really the same thing, just in different design. The 110 is a smaller pocket-sized design, while the 300 is like a Sanyo Exacti, where it has that flip-out LCD on the side there. but otherwise the same hardware in there. There's also the 102, which is a lower end model, which does not have LED light on it or anti-shake. And there's also a 150, which is the same thing as the 110, except it is waterproof. So those are the different Philips camcorder models. Here's a brief audio quality test of the Philips CAM110 pocket-sized HD camcorder. Here's an outdoor low light test of the Philips CAM110. Stop and go traffic. Shifter makes a perfect handrest for reaching the presets. Here's the cause of the whole thing. And there's my small car.